threw Sister on the other night, and I thought I was about to get a little easy nostalgia hit. You know, two cute twins, some jokes, and Roger falling through the window. Roll the credits. And instead, I sat straight up on my couch because I realized this whole show is a science experiment that snuck onto ABC on a Friday night. Think about it with me. You got two girls with the exact same DNA, same face, same blood, split up as babies, and then raised in two completely different worlds for 14 years. Psychologists have been trying to build that exact setup in a lab for 100 years. And Sister just handed it to us with a couple of laughs in between. But here's the part that broke my brain. If where you grow up is really the thing that makes you who you are, then Tia should have come out wild and Tamera should have come out uptight. And the show did the complete opposite. So today we are figuring out what actually made Tia and Tamera who they are. Nature versus nurture. And why the real answer is messier and way more interesting than anybody ever told you. So let's get into it. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Indescribable, aka Geraldine Lake, and I am back with another video about the psychology hiding inside of one of our favorite TV shows, Sister. Okay, so let me tell you why I could not let this go. Every sitcom has a gimmick, right? This one's gimmick is that two leads share a genome, and the writers, God bless them, probably thought that they were just writing a cute little mix-up show where two identical girls confuse everybody at the mall. What they actually wrote is the closest thing that primetime television ever got to a real twin study. Here's the whole premise if you somehow missed it growing up. Tia and Tamera are identical twins. Their birth mother passes away when they are babies, and the girls get adopted out separately. Tia gets raised in inner city Detroit by Lisa, a seamstress with dreams of being a fashion designer, and Tamera gets raised out in the suburbs by Reid, who runs a limo company, and the two of them bump into each other at a clothing store in the mall at 14 years old. And then boom, the families end up under one roof so the girls can stay together. Now watch what the show is really telling you. Same egg split into 14 years and two different zip codes, two different income brackets, two different parents, two different everything. And the second these girls stand next to each other, we, the audience, get to play scientists because any difference between them cannot be blamed on their genes. Their genes are a match. So whatever is different had to come from life. That right there is the entire question psychology has been fighting about since before your granny was born, okay? How much of you is the recipe you were born with, and how much of you is the kitchen you got cooked in? And I promise you, once you see it this way, you can't unsee it. This is not just a show about twins pranking a substitute teacher. This is a show about the two biggest forces that build a human being, sitting at the same breakfast table, arguing over the last piece of toast. Now let me break it down real quick so we all on the same page. Nature means the stuff you were born with, your DNA, the instructions baked into you before you ever took a breath. Nurture means everything that happens to you after that. Your home, your money or lack thereof, your parents, your neighborhood, the words people said to you at 7 years old that you still hear at 30. For the longest time, folks argued it had to be one or the other. Either you come out the box already you, or the world writes you from scratch like a blank notebook. So how do you even test that theory? You can't exactly take a baby and raise it twice unless the universe hands you identical twins who got separated as babies and raised apart. Then you got two copies of the same genetic code dropped into two very different lives, and you can finally see what changed and what stayed the same. That's not just a TV plot. That is a real study, and it's called the Minnesota Study of Twins Reared Apart. A researcher named Bouchard started it at the University of Minnesota back in 1979, and it ran for 2 whole decades. His team tracked down more than 100 sets of identical and fraternal twins who had been raised apart, and put them through days of testing, personality, intelligence, interests, all of it. And here is what shook the whole field. The identical twins who were raised apart in different homes by different people came out about as alike as identical twins who grew up in the same house. Hear that part again. Raised apart, but still eerily similar. There's a famous part in the research where two men both named Jim, separated as babies, reunited as grown men, and the overlap in their lives almost was spooky. On personality traits, the study landed somewhere around 40 to 50% of the differences between people tracing back to genes. Not all of it, but a big undeniable portion. So hold on to that number because Sister is about to let us test it in real time. Now let's talk about Tia, because Tia is my girl, and Tia is also the first crack in the simple story. Tia is the studious one. Bookish, a little shy, thinks 3 steps ahead, wants the good grades and the right answer. She is the twin who reads the instructions. And who raised her? Lisa. Wild, loud, ridiculously messy, Lisa. She's impulsive. She's boy crazy. Lisa will spend the light bill money on the perfect outfit and figure out how to pay the light bill later. Okay? Lisa is the fun parent, the reckless one, the one who acts more like a teenager than the actual teenager in the house. So if nurture just stamps a copy of the parent onto the kid, Tia should be out here just as chaotic as Lisa. But she's not. She's the opposite. She is the calm one in Lisa's storm. That's the wrinkle that made me put my remote down. But hold on, because there is a nurture read here too, and it's a real one. Tia grew up with less. Inner city single mama, money tight, a parent who is loving, but not always steady. And when you are a kid in a home like that, a lot of times you become the responsible one on purpose. You learn to plan because somebody has to. You get sharp because sharp is how you keep the wheels from falling completely off. Psychologists have a name for that too, when a child ends up carrying grown folks' weight before their time. So Tia's whole careful, studious, got it together energy might not be in spite of that house. It might be because of it. She built the stability that she wasn't given. And Lisa, listen, I love you, but you a whole adult putting your daughter in a position to be the level-headed one because you refuse to be. Go to hell, playfully, but still go. Okay? So which is it? Is Tia careful because of her genes or because her life required it? That's the exact fork in the road that this whole video is standing on. Keep it in your pocket because Tamera is about to make it even worse. Tamera's the wild one, emotional, dramatic, boy crazy, leads with her heart in her mouth before her brain ever gets a vote. She's the twin who feels everything at full capacity. And her daddy is Reid, buttoned up, rule following, prim and proper Reid, a businessman who likes his life ordered and his house quiet and his daughter's behavior predictable. If nurture just copies the parent, Tamera should be a tiny CEO in a blazer. Instead, she is the human embodiment of a group chat at 2 a.m. Just absolute chaos, okay? Same setup as Tia, but reversed. The kid came out opposite to the parent. So now we got two data points, both telling us the same thing. Nurture did not just paint these girls in their parents' colors. Something else was in that paint. Let me be fair because I don't do one-sided breakdowns. There is a nurture story for Tamera too. She grew up with more. Suburbs, money, a father who could give her room to be soft and silly and take her time. When your basic needs are covered and somebody is holding the floor steady underneath you, you get to be expressive. You get to be dramatic. You get the luxury of leading with your feelings because your feelings are not a threat to your survival. So Tamera's wildness is not just random. A safe provided for childhood can absolutely grow a bold, emotional, taking up space kind of person. And Reid, sir, I need you to loosen the tie, okay? This man tried to schedule his daughter's emotions like a limousine pickup. 7:15 sharp. Be sad on your own time. Respectfully, you can be a good provider and still be a stiff parent. So look at what we got. Two girls, same DNA. Each one is the mirror image of the parent who raised her. In the worst way for the nurture argument. If life alone made them, then they would look like their homes, but they don't. All right, so here's the pillar that the whole thing rests on. Because it's not just that Lisa and Reid are different people. They are running two completely different parenting operating systems. And psychology has literally studied these exact styles. Back in the 60s, a researcher named Diana Baumrind watched a bunch of parents and noticed they mostly fall into a few camps. Later on, two more researchers, McGue and Martin, cleaned it up into 4. Let me give them to you plain. You got authoritative, high warmth, high standards. Lots of love, but also clear rules and real reasons behind them. That is the one that research keeps calling the healthiest because the kid feels held and guided at the same time. Then you got authoritarian, low warmth, high control. My way, no discussion because I said so. Reid lives right about here. Rules for days, warmth kind of rationed out like it cost him something, and then you got permissive, high warmth, low control. All love, barely any rules, and that is Lisa on a good day. She adores those girls, but boundaries are more of a suggestion. And you got the fourth one, which is uninvolved. Thankfully, neither one of these parents is like this, so we're just gonna keep it moving, but just wanted to give you a little context. Now, here's why that matters. The research says authoritarian homes, like the one that Reid has, tends to grow kids who follow the rules on the outside, but wrestle with confidence and closeness on the inside. Because they learn love comes with conditions. And permissive homes, the Lisa homes, tend to grow warm, expressive children who sometimes struggle with limits and follow through because nobody made them sit in the hard parts. And what did the show hand us? Tamera raised raised authoritarian by Reid, is emotional and hungry for approval and boy crazy, which reads a whole lot like a kid reaching outward for the warmth the house was stingy with. And Tia, raised permissive by Lisa, became the one enforcing limits on herself because somebody had to hold the line. Each girl grew the thing her house was missing. That's not nature. That right there is nurture doing exactly what the textbooks predicted. Now there's one more layer called attachment. A psychologist named John Bowlby and later Mary Ainsworth, who ran the actual experiments, showed that the very first bond between a baby and a caregiver becomes the blueprint for how that person does closeness for the rest of their life. Ainsworth had this idea of a secure base, the safe home spot that lets a child go out into the world and take risks because they know that home is not going anywhere. Here's the beautiful thing that Sister accidentally shows. When those two households merge, when Tia gets a little of Reid's structure and Tamera gets a little of Lisa's warmth, both girls get steadier. They each finally get the missing half of the recipe. The mess of two mismatched parents under one roof actually turns into the secure base neither girl had by herself. Now let me flip back to the other side because this is where it gets a little good. For all their differences, watch how many things about Tia and Tamera never budge no matter which house they came from. Both of them are quick. Both of them are funny in that same rhythm. Both of them love extremely hard and they value loyalty, especially with each other. Both of them got the same core of decency, that same line that they will not cross. You can dress one in Lisa's chaos and one in Reid's order, and underneath the engine is still the same engine. Remember, identical twins raised apart still come out about as similar as twins raised together on a bunch of core traits. So when Tia and Tamera finish each other's jokes, despite 14 years in separate lives, that's not a writing shortcut. That is the show quietly siding with nature. The genes set the floor. The floor is the same for both of them. So now you see the trap in picking aside. If you only look at how different their personalities are, you will swear that nurture runs everything. If you only look at how much stay the same across two whole different childhoods, then you'll swear that it's all in the DNA. And both of those people are watching the same show. These girls lost their mother as babies and they got split apart, and that's a real loss. So before they were old enough to even hold a memory of it, the show plays the reunion as pure joy, and it is joyful. But there's a psychology to why finding your twin hits that deep. There's a whole stage of growing up that Erik Erikson called identity versus role confusion. Teenage years, when your one job is to figure out who you actually are, and imagine trying to answer who am I when there is a literal other you out there that you never really knew about. So meeting your twin at 14 does not confuse that question. It completes it. It gives you a mirror that finally makes sense to you. That's why the reunion hits so hard for us as an audience, because even under all the corny jokes, we are not just watching two girls become roommates. We are watching two half stories become one whole one. And that ache, the missing piece finally clicking in, is the most human thing in the entire show. So here is where I have to keep it 100, because I told you, I compare sides. I don't just sell you one, okay? The nature crowd points at Bouchard and the Minnesota study and says, look, twins raised apart still match. Genes are the steering wheel, and they have a real case. But that study also has serious critics. Researchers like J. Joseph have argued for years that those twins reared apart were often not raised as far apart as advertised. Same culture, sometimes same extended family, reunited before testing, and that the study leaned too hard on genes and waved off the environment that they secretly still shared. That is a fair punch, and you should know that it exists. And the nurture crowd points at the parenting research, Baumrind, attachment, all of it, and says that a child is shaped by the hands that raised them, period. Also true. Also not the whole picture, though, because these twins refuse to become copies of their parents. So what is the honest answer? It's both, tangled up together all the time. The best way I ever heard it put is that your genes don't lock in your fate, but they load the dice. So you're born with tendencies, a hand that everybody gets dealt, and then your life, your mama, your money, your neighborhood, it decides how that hand gets played. Tia and Tamera came into this world with the same cards, two different dealers, sat them at two different tables. And the magic of this silly, sweet, underrated show is that it let us watch exactly how much the cards mattered and exactly how much the table did. Nature deals it, nurture plays it, and nobody at that breakfast table wins alone. So that's what I think. Sister Sister was never just a twin show. It was the softest, most accidental psychology lesson ever aired, and it took me watching it grown to finally catch it. And I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I was really looking for it, okay? So do me a favor, drop a comment and tell me who you think you take after more, the parent who raised you or the DNA you were handed, because I already know these comments are gonna feel just like a therapy session, and I'm here for it. Okay, now if this made you see the show differently, then like it so it gets pushed to somebody who needs to see it, and then subscribe because we're breaking down the psychology behind your favorite shows every single week, and you do not want to miss the next one, okay? So hit that notification bell so you know every single time your girl uploads, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.